Hi, Katie.
Hi, Theresa.
Thank you for joining me on the Zoom call.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So what I thought we could do is just talk a little bit about um, what you do and why you like IFS, and I think we both go back pretty far in our work together with clients and our mutual love for utilizing IFS and our work with eating disorders. And then maybe talk about the conference a little bit.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So my current practice is in Wildwood, Missouri, which is kind of West County, suburban St. Louis area, about 45 minutes outside the central city of St. Louis. And I moved my practice from Town and Country in June of 2021. I spent that whole year and some months of the pandemic doing solely virtual work. So I went back into my office in 2021 in June, and I have been seeing pretty much a full caseload since then. So most of my work is with clients who have eating disorders. I do specialize in complex PTSD and trauma and anxiety disorders. So I will see a couple of clients that have mood disorders that are kind of sprinkled in there. And then I also do some couples work. I started doing more couples work in 2017. So I do that from like an EFT and an IFS lens for the couples work, which I love doing.
Yeah.
IFS driven couples work. That's a lot of fun. So I kind of see a hodgepodge of everything. So like if you are in outpatient work and you're seeing eating disorders, you're not just seeing eating disorders. A little less than half of my clients have an anxiety disorder, at least one of them. And I think that actually backs up the data. The research data is about, I think 40 to 50% of people have an anxiety disorder comorbid with their eating disorder. So to kind of back up even further, as you know, my background, I was trained to treat anxiety disorders comorbid with eating disorders when I worked at Rogers Memorial in Wisconsin. And so I've been using exposure and response prevention for a long time. And then when I was trained in IFS, to me, it was like a beautiful synergy putting the two together.
Mhm.
And I think that, well, clients will tell you if we're doing just ERP, it can get dry, it can feel rote. It can also feel like something's kind of missing in the clinical relationship because it is so process oriented. And it's like you do these tasks, you see outcomes, you do these tasks, you see outcomes. And a lot of clients who are used to having like a deep conversation with their clinician can feel like they're missing something. So back in 2010, when I first started the IFS training journey, I was just like blown away by the work. It's more of a deeper, holistic healing. But I actually find that when you do IFS in conjunction with ERP, you're no longer bypassing the protectors. You're actually gaining their trust and building rapport and creating safety for those parts to do more aggressive ERP work. That's been my experience.
Yeah, fascinating. And are you seeing a lot of that in your private practice too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way that I structure it is case by case. So sometimes I will do the IFS and the ERP like just all by myself. Sometimes I will send my clients out to do ERP with a few individuals in the area that I'm like, you need to do all of this ERP. I will do the rest of the work. I'll manage. I do a lot of FBT with my younger clients that are teenagers. So oftentimes I'll get, kind of explain that to families, like we have to have a whole team approach. The ERP is probably going to be the shortest part of this treatment, and we'll bookend it with all of the other components. But I find that if I work in that team format, it goes better for the clients and they get a quicker kind of return on the investment, emotional and physical investment they're putting into treatment.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your talk at the conference and what people can expect if they come to your talk.
So I think the goal is to help people understand how to marry these two interventions together and how they work in tandem. A lot of people theoretically would say that they don't fit together, but I think they fit perfectly together because you're going in and you're actually working with the protectors that guard the exiles, that have the trauma. Those are the parts that need healing the most. And so if you're working with these parts and doing exposure work with them, they're feeling that these parts are building confidence, they're building strength, they're learning that they don't have to do the things that they need to do ritualistically. And if you get a client that's deep in the rituals of OCD and an eating disorder in tandem, a lot of times you can't even get to protective parts to do the ERP. So the goal of the work together is to really create holistic healing, bottom up and top down at the same time. Because, you know, ERP is more of a top down cognitive behavioral therapy, and IFS is a bottom up holistic healing approach. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about best practice and using team format, how I work with other providers. I always want a clear diagnostic picture, especially when I'm working with adolescents, because as we know, intervention within the first several months of disorder, the earlier you intervene, the better. So if you have a kid who you're not sure if it's generalized anxiety disorder, if you're not sure if it's OCD, I usually send kids out for psych testing because I want to make sure that they're also not on the autism spectrum. If there's all of that stuff going on, I want a full picture so I'm providing the best care to a kiddo. Obviously, I send a lot of my adults out for testing too, because a lot of them have been in treatment for some of them decades before they reach outpatient therapy. And I think having it the best picture is important. So I work with a couple of different psychologists in the St. Louis area. So I'll talk about the synergy of those relationships and collaboration. And then I work with dietitians hand in hand. And once the dietitian and myself have built a full hierarchy together for the clients, we work systematically to address that with the food and with other rituals. And there's constant communication. So I'm going to go through all of that, how that works together, and creating a more comprehensive format for treatment.
That sounds awesome. I'm really excited about the lineup on the second day and how we have Dick Schwartz doing a half day of the full IFS training for people that will be at the conference who might know a lot about eating disorders, but not IFS. And so I think it'll be a nice kind of setting things up for the second day in your talk as well.
Right.
So I just really appreciate you being a part of it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Theresa.
All right, thank you.